Get ready.
Friends, it is with great sadness that I announce the fall of a true hero of our time. A hero that ensured no matter what, enjoyment would be had through the raw power of 32-bit Sega games, and that would stay as a reliable friend throughout the time I knew it. Indeed, it is with great sadness that I announce my SEGA Saturn is to move on to greener pastures in a dusty old box or something. Because I fucking replaced it. This is mirroring a CDX situation to an uncanny degree. That's right folks, I've upgraded to a Japanese SEGA Saturn. This means I can bring you game footage in glorious 60Hz with no annoying PAL borders. As if that wasn't enough, I've also picked up an Action Replay 4M Auto. Trust me, getting this thing was a pain in the dick, but it's here now and it works wonders. I'll be talking about it more next time though, because today we're looking at a game starring a certain blue porcupine. Now let me get something important out of the way. The very reason I'm a Sega fan to this day happens to be because of my 5th birthday. I believe it was my 5th anyway, my memory's a tad rusty. Anywho, that day I unwrapped a Nintendo GameCube and a few games. At first I was super excited to have the games I had begged for, Luigi's Mansion, and so I sat down and played that. Sadly, I didn't really feel it, at least not that age, and I was kind of disappointed. So I turned my attention to the other game I'd stared at for a bit in the shop, but I thought looked rubbish. That game was Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. I promptly lost my life to Sonic the Hedgehog, and now I'm a considerably respected member of the Sonic fanbase, being a fan artist, having written for the fantastic Sonic fan site Sonic Rex, now known as Last Minute Continue, produced various video game commentaries on the games, collected a fair bit of merchandise, and of course I have a great deal of Sonic games in my collection. This probably makes my choice of the Saturn as my favourite Sega console seem strange, as Sonic got well and truly screwed over on the Saturn. Only 3 Sonic games were released for the system. Sonic Jam was just a Mega Drive compilation with the Sonic Adventure prototype in there for no reason. Sonic 3D Flicky's Island was a touched up port of the Mega Drive game, though it did have a far superior soundtrack to the original version. And finally, there was Sonic R, the only completely original Sonic game released for Saturn. We almost got a new main series Sonic Adventure in the form of Sonic Extreme, but as just about everyone who knows anything about Sonic or the Saturn knows, that game got canned and it was actually one of the main reasons the Saturn sold pretty badly outside of Japan. Sonic had some selling power for Sega, and without it, the Saturn didn't really have a leg to stand on. Anyway, Sonic R. Developed by Traveller's Tales, a then rather small British game studio now responsible for massive properties such as the LEGO game series. The game saw Sonic & Co. Racing, surprise surprise. A Sonic racing game had been attempted before with the Sonic Drift games on the Game Gear, but the difference here was that the characters were now on foot, whereas in Sonic Drift they all drove cars. Hey, it made sense, Sonic's famed for being the fastest thing alive and so the concept was solid. But what about the game? Upon booting the game up, you're greeted with the danciest title screen in any Sonic game ever. The game's soundtrack, as I'll detail later, has been the subject of much debate since the game's release. Certainly though, Supersonic Racing, the main theme, is one of those tracks that it's difficult not to enjoy to at least some extent. It's painfully cheesy, but it's damn good. So we head into the game, and after selecting a save, are given quite a few options. The first mode is the obligatory Grand Prix mode, which pits you against 4 other computer players in a race to the finish. Speaking of which, you start the game with only 4 characters. You have Sonic himself, who is of course the fastest of the default characters, but pretty bad at handling. Tails, who has good acceleration and abysmal handling, but the ability to fly for a short time, a la the Mega Drive games. Knuckles, who has all-around stats and the ability to glide, and Amy Rose, who actually drives the car and generally has somewhat shoddy stats, though her car does have a turbo boost. In general, control-wise the game's a bit off in places. One common complaint I hear is that cutting corners is impossible in the game, and I have a feeling that those people have never tried using the shoulder triggers, seeing as they make drifting far easier. Also of note is that thankfully this game supports the 3D pad, though I still find it perfectly playable with a D-pad. One major issue I have is that when standing still, the characters turn like bloody tanks. which isn't very useful in a racing game, and especially not one where exploration is so heavily emphasised. Overall though, I found the controls to be alright, perhaps slightly unresponsive at times, but nothing game breaking. There are also 5 unlockable characters, bringing the full character roster up to 9, which, to be fair, was more than Mario Kart 64 offered. However, the next screen is where things begin to fall apart very quickly, whereas the Plumbers offering gave 16 courses to race on, Sonic R offers 5, one of which is unlockable. Who the hell thought 5 tracks was enough for a racing game? Now yes, Mario Kart 64 was using 64 bits of power, but the 32-bit PlayStation's Crash Team Racing also had more courses than Sonic R. You can literally beat this entire game in a single sitting if you feel like it. I've played arcade games that last longer than it. In fact, recently, while my PS3 updated, I managed to beat this game with 10 minutes to spare before the update even finished. Anyway, the courses we have are Resort Island, a beach area, Radical City, a city that's apparently radical, Regal Ruin, an old ruin decorated with echidna statues, Reactive Factory, apparently one of Eggman's disused robot factories, and the final course, Radiant Emerald, which is, besides a Rainbow Road clone, apparently set inside a Chaos Emerald. To try and justify the awful number of courses, the first 4 courses have secrets hidden in them, in 2 forms, Sonic Tokens and Chaos Emeralds. Sonic Tokens are used to unlock the extra characters, bar 2. There are 5 Sonic Tokens dotted about each course, and collecting all 5 and finishing the race in 1st, 2nd or 3rd thrusts you into another race on the circuit, this time in a one-on-one against the boss of the course. For example, the first track's boss is Metal Sonic. As the only real boss characters of this game, you'd expect them to put up a bit of a challenge, but the races against them are almost hilariously easy. That said, the unlockable characters, those being Metal Sonic of Sonic CD origin, the Tails doll who spawned a ridiculous internet meme about a curse of some sort, Metal Knuckles, who looks pretty awesome and sadly never appeared again after Sonic R, aside from the Sonic comic series, and Egg Robo from Sonic 3 and Knuckles' Sky Sanctuary level. Fun fact, the Egg Robo model in this game later appeared in Sonic Adventure 2 as a go-kart. Yeah, they used a Saturn model for a Dreamcast game. Okay then. Anyway, the unlockable characters are pretty much the same as the default ones. Metal Sonic can hover above water for a bit and is a tad faster than Sonic. Tails doll can hover above water forever and fly forever, but is as slow as hell. Metal Knuckles is pretty fast and can also glide, making him one of the best characters. And Egg Robo is shit. Each track also hides Chaos Emeralds, 1 on the first track, 2 on the rest. Collecting these can be a pain depending on how decent you are at racing, as you need to explore the tracks quite a bit, especially in Regal Ruin, and once you have them they only count if you finish in 1st place, which can be a pain in the arse to achieve when you have to stop and start constantly to collect these things. Anyway, beating the default courses unlocks Radiant Emerald and Dr. Eggman as a playable character, Eggman having a nifty missile feature, and collecting all the Chaos Emeralds unlocks Super Sonic. To put it simply, Super Sonic is broken and throws the whole game out of balance. He's quite hard to control, but fuck that, he makes the rest of the racers look like snails in comparison. He can run across water with ease, has the highest top speed in the game, and isn't even that bad at cutting corners from my experience. Plus, he even has Sonic's double jump as a special ability. Basically, if you want to win with next to no effort, Super Sonic's your man. I wouldn't mind his broken stats, but once you've unlocked him, playing as any of the other unlockable characters except for Dr. Eggman forces you to race him. Now bear in mind what I said about Egg Robo being shit earlier. If he's awful against the other characters, then how the hell am I going to place first against Super Sonic? Achieving first against Super with Metal Sonic or Metal Knuckles is a lot easier, but only if you know all the shortcuts on these tracks. Beating him with Tails doll is a pain in the arse, but it's quite a party trick if you pull it off. The tracks themselves are one part of the game I'm actually quite fond of. The track design's pretty comprehensive all things considered, with many extra routes and shortcuts throughout each. You could race for each track 3 times in a row and every time take a completely different route to the finish. Hell, on the Gems Collection version of this game for the GameCube, my brother and I spent hours exploring these levels in depth using multiplayer just to find all these hidden areas. Nowadays, that kind of expansive wonder's really faded, because I know these levels like the back of my hand, but regardless, I feel the levels fit in with the style of Sonic gameplay really damn well. I will concede that sometimes they feel a bit poorly suited to the controls and game mechanics, for example Regal Ruin's 90-degree corners, but on the whole I'm quite impressed with the track design. And so we come to the soundtrack. The soundtrack's probably one of the most interesting aspects of this game. The music itself was produced by Richard Jacks, who is perhaps my favourite musician of the Sonic series, and was responsible for pretty much all of Sonic's music during the Saturn era, also working on the Saturn and PC port of Sonic 3D Flicky's Island, which was, along with a PC version of Sonic R, amongst my first Sonic games. My music nerd of a brother describes this game's soundtrack as acid house influenced, and quite frankly, when it comes to identifying musical genres, I'm hopeless, so I'll just go with what he says. What most people remember about the music, though, are the lyrics, performed by TJ Davis, a UK vocalist who had previously worked as a backing vocalist for bands such as Blur, and also was a member of an ABBA tribute band. Okay then. Anyway, the lyrics were apparently written by Jacks to be fitting with the game, but also accessible for general listening, though I'll be blunt, he completely failed at the former. These songs don't make me think about running around loops and stuff as a super fast hedgehog. It's incredibly cheesy and does not even subtly mention anything that makes you think Sonic. All that being said, I do actually quite like the soundtrack. The music itself is bloody fantastic, and the vocals, whilst unfitting, don't really grate on my nerves too much depending on the song. In fact, I absolutely love the ending theme for this game. The soundtrack actually became something a tad bigger than the game, with it being released on vinyl. The song Work It Out was also remixed by numerous musicians such as Eric Cooper, who collaborated with the late godfather of house music, Frankie Knuckles. If that wasn't enough, the song also received club mixes mixed with new vocalists, apparently due to licensing issues concerning Davis's vocals, and even an a cappella version was released. Basically, Sega apparently loved Work It Out, and it all makes for an interesting bit of lore regarding the soundtrack. Perhaps I'll do a detailed write-up on it someday. Either way, if you hate the lyrics, you can turn them off in the options anyway, so it's not such a big problem as some people make it out to be. On the graphical side of things, there's nothing special here. I get Sega were working with 32 bits, and at least the characters were actually 3D models unlike the lazy 2D sprites of Mario Kart 64, but there's one massive graphical issue with this game: the pop-in. In the original Saturn version, pop-in is staggering, perhaps even more so than Daytona USA. You can barely see 5 feet ahead of you in races, which with the complex level designs I mentioned earlier, is far from ideal. Like I said, I know the track's inside out, so it's no issue for me, but for a new player, this could get confusing fast. Thankfully, in the GameCube and PS2 ports of this game and the Sonic Gems collection, the pop-in was completely eliminated, making the experience far smoother. But we're here to talk about the Saturn version. From a personal standpoint, I can play the game fine with the pop-in, but really, it's not like this was a launch game, so some effort with the draw distance really should have been taken. The character models are all fairly detailed, though at some points I have noticed texture flickering. Where this game really shines is the level graphics. Each level feels just like a Mega Drive Sonic game, only in 3D with bright, vibrant graphics. The big graphical feature that was really praised the hell out of in magazine previews was the use of transparency. The Saturn could do transparency effects, but many developers just couldn't be arsed with it. Here, it's used to pretty great effect, the most striking example being the final stage, Radiant Emerald, where a transparent overlay covers the whole screen to give it an awesome pulsating colour effect, and the entire track itself is actually transparent. Overall, I can see some effort clearly went into the graphics with the transparency effects and such, but I think Traveller's Tales ought to have focused their efforts on aspects more important to the gameplay, such as that pop-in nastiness. Besides Grand Prix, there's also a time trial mode. This actually provides quite a few nifty little options. You can race for the best time on the normal or a reversed version of the track, you can hunt for balloons across each course, or you can play a game of tag against 4 AI characters. Worth noting though, is that the game follows the same logic as racing in tag mode, meaning if you've got Supersonic unlocked, you can kiss goodbye to winning tag mode as Egg Robo. Honestly, I quite enjoy Balloon Hunt and tag mode, and I recommend you check them out at some point. For this review, I managed to convince my brother to play some multiplayer with me as well. To sum up the experience, expletives were hurled and a fun time was had by precisely nobody. In a nutshell, 2-player takes the single player mode, makes the pop-in even worse, and it adds screen crunch caused by split screen. The result is almost unplayable, and when I say the poppin's worse, I really mean it's worse. Trying to get through these courses in 2-player is a whole new level of frustration. To be fair, you do get the same variety as in Time Trial with Balloon Hunt being available, though tag isn't available in multiplayer. All in all, if you do fancy 2-player Sonic Racing, go with the GameCube version of this game, or hell, do the right thing and get Sonic and All-Stars Racing transformed instead. So, all in all, I reckon Sonic R's a pretty average game myself, and really the only reasons I can find to recommend it is A, it's one of the only Sonic games you'll be getting on Saturn, and B, it does manage to get some things right, such as a lovely level graphics, but really this shouldn't be very high up on your wish list for Saturn unless you're a huge Sonic enthusiast such as myself. The only other group I can guess might like it is the musical crowd, seeing as if you look past the cheesy lyrics, the songs themselves are pretty friggin' good. As far as things go though, if you absolutely must play Sonic R for some reason, I'd probably recommend the GameCube version as much as I adore the Saturn. Thanks for watching this episode of This Is Saturn, and I'll see you guys next time when we look at something that isn't a video game.